well-hydrated gentleman here. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of the Bright Now podcast. We are recording this on Monday, January 15th, 2024, 7:41 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Dash, and I'm the animal style fry to my Caniac combo, King of the Trail 3. He'll play on your squad for a Zin, just a small fee, TJ. Good to be here again, brother. And before you get into what you're talking about today, I just want to say happy Martin Luther King Day to everyone. A man who did a lot for people of color in this country, bringing light to people not only in the United States, but around the world as to what good can be done by collectivizing and fighting for the right side of history. A very courageous man, and I think that we can all learn a little bit about him. But TJ, what are we talking about today?
Happy Martin Luther King Day. If you're in Atlanta, check out the Martin Luther King Jr. house. They also have like an African-American Walk of Fame. That's really cool. Got some Magic Johnson, a bunch of other cool stuff down there. So yeah, check it out. Happy MLK Day. Got another great day of basketball today. I know we got to see some fantastic plays out of Wemby against the Hawks tonight as well. So a great day for basketball if you got the day off work. So for today's pod, another Tuesday Tidbit's going to touch on that Suns versus Blazers game, and then also break down who Dash and I think are the worst potential playoff matchups for the Sun going into the postseason. No, it's a little early for that talk, but just has us thinking about who we're worried about in the West, really. So to start things off, the Suns kind of hang on versus the Blazers, 127 to 116. Booker led the way with 34 points on 14 for 22 shooting. Including he had 19 second half points with 15 in the third quarter alone. And then again, another 15 points in the first half. Came out of the gates really hot with 9 in the first quarter. Durant and Beal add on 21 and 23 points combined, 17 for 29 from the field. Really felt like the shot chart was exactly as the Suns wanted it today, with Book getting 22, KD getting 16, and Beal shooting 13. That just kind of feels a perfect ratio of how these guys should be attacking and what kind of their mindset should be. Then we had Nurk and Grayson tapping in 14 and 20 on their own. But then the rest of the team combined for a total of 15 points. So we still got the bench going up and down. Would have been a great night for the bench to kind of step up, given all the injuries that the Trailblazers were facing and just the fact that they're a subpar team at the end of the day. From the Blazers side, their young guns kind of did all they could to keep them in it. Scoot with 33 points. Before you get too excited about that, it was on 11 for 31 shooting. So
35% shooting. 35%.
He was definitely getting some looks up. It was like he was just chair shooting out there. Then we had Anthony Simons with 28 points, 8 for 18 from the field for him. Surprise from the Blazers, at least for me. I don't know about you. I don't check into Portland all that often, especially with Ayton out. Sometimes it's still fun to remember those days. But that Duop Reith, he felt like the highest energy on the floor from start to finish. 17 points, 2 steals, and a block. Kind of felt like the Blazers were just kind of sick of getting their ass kicked. They had lost their last 2 games by an average of like 42 points. So kind of felt like maybe this was their time to get right. So definitely a disappointment from my perspective, just kind of hanging on against these guys. But what were your thoughts after we get the dub?
Yeah, I actually was on a call with my dad, and he asked me just how the game went, if I had a chance to watch the replay. He knew I was at work, and I did. And he assumed that we had taken care of business just looking at the box score. But, man, honestly, that game felt much closer than the final score says. I mean, again, nothing new. We continue to dominate in the second and third quarter, as you said, and we end up losing in the third, give by 3. But we made it real close at one point, ended up winning by 11. But, shit. It was just not a pretty sight for me as a Suns fan, especially as you alluded to at the very beginning, with them only having 8 players playable on their roster. Everybody else being, Simons had like sickness. Brogdon's still going to be out. Matisse Thybulle had an illness as well. So it wasn't super impressive on this side. It feels like, again, in that fourth quarter, a lot of our guys are just getting tired. And that's not even just saying like our top 3. I mean, we have an average of 35 minutes that all the guys played in that starting 5 position. I mean, in that starting 5, and it just seems so sluggish on defense, to be honest. And another thing that I really wanted to touch on and hear your opinion on, we've kind of talked about it already before in a previous podcast, but man, the 3 balls that we allow, they were just bricking. I mean, the Portland Trail Blazers missed a lot of open threes in that fourth quarter. And I brought up the stats just to see, like, man, have we continually gotten worse in our 3-point, the other team's 3-point percentage? But we are 18th, obviously bottom half of the league, not where we want to be. But damn, man, it feels like we're 25th to 30th. Do you feel the same way watching this game?
Yeah, that was probably my biggest grievance with the performance last night was that they just really got whatever shot they wanted, specifically Simons and Scoot. They could just really just dribble right past whoever and just kind of get a solid look. And so, yeah, there's plenty of plays where we're still not communicating in transition who's guarding who, and we just give up a wing three or something in the corner. Plenty of times where we just aren't close enough to the guy shooting the ball. And it sounds really simple, but I don't know if it's a lack of effort. That's what prompted me to mention to you that the Suns we're too small. We've kind of seen that. We can't compete with the bigger teams, but we're also too slow. And that gets really brought out when we play young, fast guards who can just kind of get wherever they want on the floor, and we're just chasing around behind them.
Yeah, absolutely, and it makes me nervous. I mean, this is going to be, Scoot Henderson, as we talked about, with 35%, but getting his 33 points. But this is a weaker team. This is a first-year guard right here, still trying to figure things out. When we're going to be playing against good teams, as we've seen before, whether it be Terry Rozier to Jalen Brunson, any team that has a good guard is just going to absolutely torch that front line. So definitely a little nervous there. I did have some positives, though. It goes back to the Frank Vogel thing. Metu gets minutes this game, and I personally liked what I saw from him here, just being an energy guy. Did you have any thoughts on Metu?
Yeah, he was. He does a great job if he can just hang around that dunker spot when he's effectively playing the 5 on the court. Definitely looks good. KD missed him on one lob. It looked like he was throwing it to 2013 Blake. That just sometimes that happens. You got to remember who these guys are. But I would definitely promising 3 for 3 from the field, right? It's not much to be upset about. He's definitely seems like our most consistent guy coming off the bench as of late. With Gordon hasn't been shooting it well. Feels like Gordon's kind of been on a downturn since he asked for more touches. Yeah. I don't know about you. Maybe that's just I haven't looked in the numbers or dug into that at all. I could just be totally off basis, but that's what the eye test is telling me at least. I do want to talk about this just kind of in the context as a trap game where a team just kind of a look-ahead game. We're playing the Kings on Tuesday, so kind of maybe practice is a little bit more geared to those guys. And the Suns just feel extra susceptible to these, just the way that our day-in, day-out effort kind of leads me to believe that maybe we will take it easy on some of these worst teams. The biggest problem with that, though, is that the last time we played the Blazers, they beat us, right? Yep. So if we can't get focused for this game to kind of be like, hey, let's prove to ourselves and to everybody to paying attention to the league that we can take care of business like this. And while we win the first half by 10 points, we had the lead had gotten up to 15, 17 at moments, and in the second half we just weren't able to put them away. The defensive effort is still just minimal. Beal looks like on multiple possessions he's just standing upright, and then Scoot starts going downhill, and then he decides to kind of drop down into a stance, but by then it's just too late. Same with guys off ball. We're just kind of standing around ball watching and not being active help side defenders.
Yeah, not being active on traps, especially with Devin Booker. We saw it multiple times, him go ahead and throw some turnovers. And it just has me screaming at the TV watching it live, golly, how does this happen every single game? The game plan against the Suns should be go ahead and trap Devin Booker when he crosses half court, whatever side of the court he's on, and just blitz him. Because guys want to stand the fuck around, not get open, no actions being ran, nobody's coming to get the ball. And it just goes back to the whole point guard thing, which I'm not going to harp on again. But to a point that you alluded to earlier with the taking it easier on lesser teams like this, this is just not something that we can do. I mean, I don't care how bad the team is. I don't care if you lose by 60 the last 3 games. The Portland Trailblazers will pull something out of their ass. We've seen it happen before, even when they only had their 8 playable players. But looking up at our the standings currently, me and you said at the beginning of the season that if we're not that top 4 seeding, we're extremely nervous. And right now we are at the 8th seed. I understand we haven't even necessarily hit the halfway mark of the season. We're getting there. But man, I just do not love what I'm seeing on terms of the effort, like you said. Is there anything else you wanted to hit on that side?
Yeah, I got a few things.
Talk to me.
The first one, like that we finished off with, just the body language of the team. When we get a timeout and they zoom in on the guys going over to the bench, it's just really low energy from the bench guys. Yuta, I know he's not playing, but come on, give us something. Be a good teammate, please. And maybe behind closed doors, and he's just not kind of the flamboyant guy with all that stuff. But from what I'm seeing as a fan, they seem just very low energy. Not a lot of joy, not a lot of teamwork. It seems like it seems like they're just kind of punching in and punching out.
Yeah, 100%.
And,
Like I said, this is a team that needs to win games now, take care of business, and that's not what's happening.
yeah, and as far as looking forward to the rest of the season, we just make things really hard on ourselves when we're not going to defend and give guys plenty of shots. And I dug into kind of the shot quality of the Suns this season. And from shots over 10 feet, because once you start getting into the rim, those shots are obviously going to be a little bit more contested, right? So just couldn't kind of throw those out. So outside of 10 feet, we're tied for the most of very tight shots, so guarded by less than 2 feet of space. We take the most tightly guarded shots, which are 2 to 4 feet, the least amount of open shots, which is 4 to 6, and then we're only 12th in wide open shots taken. So we just make it really hard on ourselves. We take the least amount of open threes, but we shoot 60% on very tight ones. So we are an excellent shooting team. We just aren't giving ourselves good looks, and that's going to keep biting us in their ass. That's part of the reason we can't put teams like this away, because we can't reliably shoot contested jump shots.
And doesn't that sound just like the Suns brand of basketball? I mean, everybody wants to talk about it, the 2-dribble pull-up game with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. You got to get easy shots where you can. Did you like the effort that KD had from behind the arc of taking those 3 balls?
Yeah, that's great, especially after we talked about it last time, but Booker's quote about them needing to let it fly when they have these great shooters. We're opening up games with taking more threes off the first play, getting a look to KD, something to Grayson. My biggest thing is that we just need to improve the number of open shots, and that helps get the bench involved too. That can get that scoring up, because looking at it now, we're bottom 10 in paint touches per game, and we're bottom 8 in drives. So we don't attack the rim nearly as much as the rest of the league. Our field goal percentage on drives is 6th. So we have success when we actually do it. We just don't do it at high enough volume to kind of make things easier on everybody else. It seems like we settle a lot of the time.
And that's silly, because if you look at any of the statistics, everybody wants to talk about how many threes are being shot. But currently in the NBA, this is the highest percentage of drives that we've seen in any year of basketball. And just having a team that's towards the bottom of taking drives, it's just not going to win any games in the year of 2024. Maybe, if we go back a few years to those teams, the 2012 Thunder, the 2017-18 Warriors, that's okay to go ahead and do, but it's not going to cut it in 2024.
Yeah, the silver lining here with the mid-range part of it is we allow about as many mid-ranges as we actually shoot. Like, we're near the top of the league in those allowed. So part of it is, our defense is maybe more focused on funneling guys to those spots, which is definitely good. And the other end, I think other teams can kind of just want to get into a dick swinging contest with our guys. Because as like a basketball purist, like a hezzy tween pull-up jumper is like the greatest skill that you could possibly have. And I think guys can kind of get caught doing that with us. So maybe we can kind of make teams play our game, which we'll just beat them at, especially when it comes playoff time with just the sheer talent that we have. But we'll just have to see looking forward if we can get the bench a little bit more involved and start attacking the paint a little bit more to open up those outside shots.
Yeah, not to be Mr. Negative Nancy the whole time. I don't think we should completely overreact to this, because I do have that thought of, making sure guys are out there. But just having such high minutes played from our big 3 is just not a big fan of it at all. TJ, if you had to grade this game, just real quick, what would you give it?
It has to be a C, because at the end of the day, we still got the win. It counts the same as a win in the win column as a 60-point win. There's no point differential mattering for the playoffs, right? But yeah, it's disappointing that we couldn't put them away. I'll cut them some slack, because Chauncey Billups definitely had those guys up and going. I know that they had a real big heart-to-heart after those last couple of games. Just like, hey, who the hell are we? Is this who we want to be? So you got to give the Blazers props too. They're professionals. So you got to give it a C. And the disappointing part is just the effort that it looks like that we're putting out there right now.
I agree. Let's go ahead and get this dub against the Kings, because last time, if you remember correctly, we got our asses whooped by them from start to finish. So let's go ahead and see if we can do them. And then we also have the Pelicans coming up after that, and then the Pacers. We'll see if Tyrese Halliburton's going to be playing or not. So a big week for Suns basketball, in my opinion. Those are going to be some teams that are the higher seeding of their conference. So really excited to see that. Anything else you want to talk about the Blazers game or the Suns as a whole at the moment?
No, I think that this week is going to be a great test. I saw today that we have the toughest strength of schedule remaining by one metric.
Awesome.
So that it's an uphill battle, but hey, we've kind of Sometimes we can rise to the level of our competition, it seems. Other nights we have fallen flat. It's been an up and down experience, but as long as these guys can stay healthy and we can continue to get better every day, I think we'll be all right.
That's what I like to hear. Let's move into the Suns talk still, but we're talking about the future, ladies and gentlemen. The 3 worst playoff matchups that we see with our Phoenix Suns. And TJ, you okay if I go ahead and go first?
Absolutely.
All right. So, guys, I'm not going to be basic and, pick that one team. That should be everybody's favorite in the worst playoff matchup category. The Denver Nuggets, obviously, like I said, should be everybody's number 1. So, here are my real 3 here. Number 1, we are 0-1 against this squad, and we got beat pretty badly. It's going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is the scariest team to me in the entire Western Conference besides Mr. Jokic. We have not seen Jusuf Nurkic do too good against stretch bigs and Chet Holmgren. I mean, regardless of how fucking old this guy is, we're the exact same age. He's one of the best stretch bigs in the entire league. And to add on to the fact that, as I alluded to earlier, with all the guards just dropping however much they want against the Phoenix Suns, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a guy who will take advantage of weak-ass defenses. And help defense is not our biggest strong point, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you that right now. Jusuf Nurkic is not going to average 2 blocks a game against a team like this. Probably going to get demolished. So I'm not super excited there. And then we will look at the bench, the depth. Oh, man. They are cooking us in that department. I mean, you got guys like Isaiah Joe who might just have 11 threes in one of these games. Just you never fucking know. And then a cherry on top, this is one of the best fourth quarter teams in the league. I don't even know if I have to say anything else on top of that. The Phoenix Suns have, breaking news, not traditionally been too good in the fourth quarter. TJ, what are your initial thoughts? I know you're not the biggest OKC believer in the world.
Yeah, so I also left the Nuggets off of mine because it did seem a little too easy, and who knows when it comes down to it, who they're going to have. A lot of question marks still there. I did not have the Thunder as one of my 3. And it was mostly because of this reason. I understand we struggle against lead guards, and he, as we said last time, he's the best point guard in the league to us at this moment in time. Yep. So he would absolutely torch us. But I do think the rest of the way, our play styles are similar enough, and we have that veteran edge with Book, KD, and Beal. So that's why I would put us above. I would still take us in a series against the Thunder, no matter how good they are playing. I do still think they're a year away. Can
you talk to me about the 5 then? Talk to me about the 5 position. That's where I'm scared as most. I think Chet Holmgren is ready for the moment. He seems like he has since he's entered the league. What do you think?
We have seen, though, already Vogel being willing to not have a true center on the court. Or I'm fine with Kevin Durant guarding Chet Holmgren for a 7-game series. Not every possession. We'll definitely mix things in. I think we'll see a lot more Metu or KBD on him as well. I wouldn't expect to see a ton of Nurkic guarding him, especially if he's going to hang around on the perimeter. But everywhere else, like Jalen Williams is an amazing isolation scorer. Yep. He's still young, so we'll have to see if they can do it in the playoffs. As we all know, the playoffs are a different beast, and we got guys with a lot more reps in that department. So that's the youth and that combination of kind of our play styles fitting up enough. I don't think they're that much better than us in any one spot, except for that, obviously, the stretch 4 position. But Kevin Durant's built the same way as Chet Holmgren. They're both 7-footers that can handle the shit out of the ball. That's just that's my thoughts on the matter.
No, yeah, you're right. Are you nervous at all about Shai being that guy that's going to absolutely break down our
absolutely.
front court?
Absolutely. He could average 38 points a game in that series. And
realistically.
Yeah, exactly. And he's good enough to do it. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely wouldn't love to play the Thunder, but you got to pick, if I had to pick somebody, I would rather play the Thunder than this first team I'm going to bring up. And
okay, before you say them, TJ.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Is this number 1 right here? Is this the scaredest team that you are?
This is the worst potential playoff matchup. And as of now, it's who we would play in the first round. If it is outside, whatever, play-in, mumbo-jumbo, whatever. And it's the Minnesota Timberwolves. I put a couple of stats for each team that I kind of think point to how we feel about them. They have their defensive rating is 108.4, best in the league by 2 points. We're actually 1-0 against them this year. As we know, it was the back-to-back after the Draymond incident, the first Draymond incident, not the second one. That was against us. But they're the best defense in the league with enough wings to guard our big 3 effectively. Edwards and McDaniels are potential all-defense guys this year, and Rudy is damn near a shoo-in to win another Defensive Player of the Year. their offense still does struggle, but our defense is not good enough for me to really think that we would be very effective in stopping them. Like, we couldn't stop Scoot and Anthony. How are we going to stop Ant and Mike Conley? Yeah. And just looking at the Timberwolves top 8, it is a very good 8-man rotation already.
Naz.
With like Naz Reid would be starting for 25 of the NBA teams, if we're just being honest about what kind of center he really is. And just absolutely love that dude. Same with you, Kyle Anderson coming off the bench. Just a great basketball IQ, really great like kind of team guy. I know whatever about him and Rudy. Hopefully that nobody punches anything, and then I think the Timberwolves will be all right. The case to beat these guys, I think, is we could potentially go small again and pull Gobert out from under the rim. That's been the best success against him in the playoffs. But they're still going to be able to punish us on the boards. We got Cat, Rudy, Nas. Those guys are going to really dominate the paint. So the one, and then another positive stat to kind of break us all down. Minnesota is 20th in offensive rating, and the Suns are at 11th. So that offense may get even more sluggish and worse when it comes to the playoffs and things slow down a little bit, especially against a team like us where it's going to be a lot of mid-ranges. So that's my one silver lining if we do play Minnesota, but they'd probably be the team I'm most worried about right now.
And something that scared me a little bit is definitely going to be the three-point shooting with Cat out there. I mean, I think Kevin Durant will do a great job at guarding Cat. Is that who we assume is going to guard him?
That would make the most sense if we're going to start the lineup that we have. If like it's the starting lineup with Grayson in it, yeah, I would have to say so. And that means you're putting Grayson or Booker on Ant.
Mm-hmm. And that's not the worst thing in the world. There's nobody in the league who can stop Anthony Edwards. But my concern was just the three-pointers allowed, just the type of looks that we're allowing teams. And as much as I'm not the biggest Karl Anthony Towns fan in the world, that guy will hit some threes against us. So I definitely see your line of vision there. The only thing that I would retort on that is I think they're expecting too much out of Mike Conley all the way through the season. I mean, he's 35, 36 years old at the moment, and we'll see if he can stay healthy all the way to the playoffs. It's something that he's been able to do, but I feel like this year they're just expecting so much out of the point guard there. So we'll go ahead and see. For my second pick right here, it's kind of a whack one, but I got the Los Angeles Clippers. We're 0-2 against them. Obviously, we've seen them go ahead and almost beat us with only Paul George in the playoffs that one year. This team looks like they're on a roll currently, TJ, and I was one of those guys, I think you were too, that were just completely signing them off, not really believing in them, but man, it's really looking like it's a real deal with Zubac and Harden being the best pick-and-roll duo in the entire league. And it's just the history with the injuries and the stuff with Harden in the playoffs. Obviously, you have to factor that in. But, man, it's like the oxymoron, like you said, a healthy team, the healthy Clippers team. It's not like a real thing. But I'd be kind of nervous. We saw Kawhi Leonard in person, me and you, see him almost take over against us and just hit every jump shot possible. Clamping down on KD, probably one of the only people in the entire league who can go one-on-one with Kevin Durant and make his life a little bit harder. And another thing that I see is Norman Powell and Terrence Mann, they just despise our team. I mean, every time I've seen them play against us, they hit every single three-pointer. So I am a little nervous. Doc Rivers, he said, I mean, he's a little bit biased. He was a Clippers guy for a really long time. He thinks that this team is by far and large the best and most deep, better than the Celtics in his opinion in terms of depth. In the entire league. So, I mean, if they do have an injury here or there, they still have a great chance at making some noise against us in the first round matchup. What do you think?
Yeah, I had the Clippers too as well.
Okay, cool.
And you're right about the depth. Like, just looking at their 10 right here is ridiculous. It's just solid NBA players down the line. And multiple MVPs, final, and just all the top heavy talent, right? They're as top heavy as anybody else, but they have the balance the rest of the way. Like you said, already handled us twice by a combined total of 36 points, right? So that's definitely been discouraging. It doesn't help that they're bigger than us at every position, but also faster. And the one stat with them is that they started the season 37, they started the season 3-7, and they're 22-7 since. All while they're fourth in true shooting percentage. They're another really heavy jump shooting team. They've just been a little bit more efficient and effective there so far. So the case to beat them is, since they are that same kind of build where it's going to rely on a lot of jump shooting luck. and they can easily deal with injuries. It could be definitely a shootout of a series that we could potentially edge them out on, but it's not something that I would be comfortable with today. My silver lining stat on them is that so far they have the third worst field goal percentage in clutch time with 19 games included in that sample. So maybe if we can just outclose them, it's definitely going to be a hard fought series, just like that one was last year. But especially even when Kawhi did go down. So that's the case against it. But like you said, I just would not be happy if we were playing the Clippers.
So I got two questions to ask you. First and foremost, with them still having, and this is ridiculous. When I found this out, this was absolutely ridiculous. When I found out that they still have $20 million that they can spend on their cap and a draft pick to trade, does that scare you at all that they're going to add on somebody else onto the roster?
They very well might. I don't know. As far as chemistry, I would almost shy away from that because they are kind of building something really solid here. Unless there is, then there's the whole PJ Tucker situation going on, him just not playing for them, right? So that definitely does kind of make things scary. The Kawhi extension is very team-friendly as well, so even moving forward, they're going to have a little bit more flexibility with him just leaving some money on the table. It's rough, but the one thing, the Clippers are going to Clipper at the end of the day.
Clippers are going to Clipper.
Yeah, so let's fingers crossed.
I got another question about the Clippers though, and this one's kind of a disheartening one as a Suns fan. And it was a sad realization just throughout our conversation. Are the Clippers, as currently constructed, a better version of the Phoenix Suns?
Oh
just
yeah,
same type of style, top two, got better depth all the way throughout, and they have a point guard.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I think we thought. Going into the season, we all thought we were going to be the better version of the Clippers because they were saying, they've just never been healthy. Our guys are going to be healthy, and we're just going to run through the league. So luckily enough, they got Kawhi and Paul George when they were still young enough to age into this and be this version of the team. We still need to see playoff James Harden. Harden probably won't be an all-star this year, and we know that was a big deal for him last year that made him change his style of play again. So do you totally trust that? Maybe. Do you still totally trust Russell Westbrook? I know he's really bought into that role there, especially with Ty Lue, but those things can change in an instant.
Yeah, you're right. Who do you got as your third pick then, since we both had number 2?
This one, maybe a little reach, but still a team that I don't think we match up great with, and it's the New Orleans Pelicans.
Oh, we had the same one.
Oh, my God.
No. I think this is a really good one because their size is crazy. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so that was probably the main piece that first popped into my head when thinking about these matchups. We've seen them already handle the Kings twice due to their size. That was really the main driver. And they're another team that has a really quality rotation. Brandon Ingram can score it as well as most guys in the league. If Zion's right, he's just a force to be reckoned with, especially going to the paint where we're at our weakest defensively.
Yep.
It does depend on where Zion is at the moment, but I think it'd be a closer series than Suns fans would really want at the end of the day. My stat for them was they're 7th in three-point percentage, and they're also 9th in opponent turnover percentage. So they're going to shoot a lot of threes, and they're going to force a lot of turnovers, and that's kind of our Achilles heel in a sense.
That's a recipe to beat the Phoenix Suns, correct?
Exactly, 100%. That's the recipe. And then you got Herb Jones on defense is good enough to guard any of our guys. Whoever's hot, hey, Herb, you can just go shut that faucet off real quick, and he's maybe the number 1 draft pick if you are thinking of who needs to. We need to stop the best player on another team. It's probably Herb Jones at this moment. They're going to get to the rim, shoot the ball well, force turnovers. It's just a recipe for disaster. The positive stat on my end was that they do give up the fifth most open threes. So if we can force them to collapse and help, and we can get good kickouts, we'll have a chance for sure. I would probably think the Suns would be favored in this series, just again with the star power, but it would be very close.
Man, it's just really scary because I've seen multiple games firsthand this year of CJ McCollum just absolutely torching teams. Just you kind of forget about CJ. You know, he's one of those guys that everybody knows he's good. You know what he brings to the table in terms of the locker room presence and making sure things are calm during a storm. But man, can he get hot. And I've seen this man
Absolutely.
just hit 7 threes in a game and just go absolutely berserk from the mid-range. Just take it all the way to the rack. As you talked about, Brandon Ingram, he's just one of those guys. Same thing. Zion Williamson just going to abuse that Yusuf Nurkic help defense. And then I do want to remind everybody that Game 6, we went up against the New Orleans Pelicans in the first round when we were definitely supposed to take care of them a lot earlier. They had no Zion Williamson, and they really made it a series. And the one guy, DeAndre Ayton, was actually who kept us in that game, funny enough. But man, they are not a team to play around with. That is a team you cannot put your food on the table. Don't play with it. You got to go ahead and get after it right away. Like you talked about with the depth, I like the Jose Alvarado minutes. He goes ahead and does his job. Everybody seems to know their role on the team up to this point. So just definitely nervous. If I remember off the top of my head, is Larry Nance Jr. out for the rest of the season? That actually might hurt them just a little bit, but I do think that if he is playing, that would definitely hurt us if he's going to be back, if his timetable matches up to the playoffs. I think that'll unironically be a factor because he's a big energy guy that is able to get out on the floor and just make things happen. But as you're looking that up, I do want to go through this.
4 to 6 weeks. He's going to be out 4 to 6
he's coming
weeks.
back. Coming back, man. He's coming back. And with them being at the 7th seed ahead of us, it is not looking good.
Yeah, and to your point about CJ McCollum, you're right. He is kind of a forgotten guy, especially at this stage in his career. He's still only 32 at the end of the day. 44% from 3 this year on 8 attempts per game.
Whoa!
19 points. Like, he's just very, very effective at what he does. And like you said, he's a professional. He's a grown-up in the room. He knows what the job is about and what they need to do to compete.
Can we talk just a little bit, unless you had anything about the Pelicans, I really wanted to talk about some of the teams that maybe we seem too confident to brush over. Are you down to go down the list just a little bit in terms of the conference?
Yeah, absolutely.
So starting off just in terms of seeding, the team we did not mention, so just everybody knows, number 1, Timberwolves, 2, Thunder, 3, Nuggets, 4, Clippers, all teams we hit on. Number 5, I'm not too scared of, even though they did beat us the last time, and that's going to be the Sacramento Kings. I do think that they're still just a younger team. They definitely put up a hell of a fight against that Golden State Warriors team, but as we know, they weren't fully together. I mean, they had that Jordan Poole and Draymond stuff that was still going on, couldn't win a road game, and they had to win 2 in that series, and it was hard fought, I'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. But I do think that the Sacramento Kings just don't have the wherewithal in order to stay with the Suns, especially with our star power being much higher than theirs. Just respectfully, I'm as big of a Sabonis guy as you'll find, as big as a De'Aaron Fox guy you'll find. But with the struggles of Kevin Huerter, and obviously I do love what our young man Keegan Murray is doing out there, but I just don't have as much faith as maybe other people do. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you, and that's kind of why I left him off. And we match up fairly well against them in terms of size. Like, they don't have a perfect we have counters for most of the things that they do well. The game's going to slow down a bit. That's part of the reason they're so successful is the high pace that they're going to play at, and that's just how playoff basketball goes when we start hopefully lock in more defensively. I'm with you with the Kings. That's why I left them off as well. I would be comfortable if we played them in a playoff series.
I would too. Number 6.
They could still beat us. They are plenty good enough to beat us. They're just, when you're talking about if I had to pick the 3 worst, like, those are the guys that it's not disrespectful to leave them off.
No, absolutely not. Any Kings fans listening, do not get it twisted. They absolutely could just go ahead and shoot and hit way more threes than us and just win that game. You want to talk about number 6?
Yeah, so then we got Dallas Mavericks. I think they're too top-heavy, and kind of in the same way that we are. Luka could obviously torch us at any moment. Kyrie and the
He's
Kyrie
never done that
KD
before, bro.
thing.
Stop. Luka can't do that.
And the Kyrie KD element, maybe Kyrie comes with a little something extra as well. But I do think they're, again, really young. They play a lot of really young guys, and outside of those two, there's not a lot of other guys you trust to create their own shot, so I do think we could handle them as well. It would have to be a shootout, and all 3 guys would have to be active and clicking, but that's why I'm leaving them off. And then I think and then 7 is the Pelicans, and after that, do we really need to justify why we're better than the Jazz, Rockets, Lakers, and Warriors?
Ooh, man, Warriors at 12. That video Dash and Hoop posted about the Warriors falling off is looking awfully tasty right now. Good God, man. I mean, the Lakers, I'm not nervous about. I know they did that in-season tournament BS. Good for them. Happy LeBron got that first one. But, man, that looks like the last piece of jewelry he might be winning on this Lakers team. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but it's not looking good. The Jazz have been kind of on a tear recently. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but they're 21-20, above 500, right on the heels of the Suns at the moment. And, man, I mean, I don't think that they have any true chances of making it there. Maybe we'll clip this out and just absolutely look like a buffoon, them overlapping us. But I'm not too worried about them. The Rockets, great defense, great coaching. I think that's just too early for them, if you agree.
Yeah, 100%. Just they're not there yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's going through the whole Western Conference right there, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't talk about – funny how we didn't talk about any of the Eastern Conference because we're just trying to make it out there. But if you had to pick the worst, just pick one. What is the worst Eastern Conference team?
Milwaukee, right? You got
Milwaukee?
They get to the paint more than – they shoot the best at the paint. With Giannis especially, and they have a point guard that can just light you on fire.
Bro, they would kill us. They would kill us right now how we are.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be bad. And Boston, no disrespect, I would take playing Boston easily. Like, I would take them over the Bucks any day. And I would live with my chances against those guys. But, yeah, Milwaukee would be – we need the Heat to take care of them.
God damn, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, no, the Bucks is literally the perfect. They have the perfect recipe for beating us because those motherfuckers, they're gonna be torching that front court. Oh man, but yeah, all right. Thank you so much for listening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this wasn't a nihilistic episode for everybody. I mean, this is
coming off a win. We were a little down in the dumps off of a win, but
a little down in the dumps. But hey,
I think we're representing the emotions of Suns fans. I saw the Suns fans on Twitter. We are representing how the Suns community is feeling right now.
I think so. But thank you so much, guys, for listening to this Tuesday Tidbit episode. We will be back with you on Saturday around 10 a.m. But yeah, any concluding thoughts, DJ?
Happy Martin Luther King Day. Take it easy, y'all, and we'll be back soon.
Shout out to GOAT Socialist MLK. You the man. And ladies and gentlemen, remember, as always, have a phenomenal rest of your day.